Hey, Zemapel, honestly, Paul, about to straight drop a real fucking video right now. Now, I've, this girl and I, we grew up together. We grew up together. We've grown up together all our lives. We were in relationship with each other all our lives. And we've known each other since we were 7 years old. We've known each other since we were 7 years old. It's like this. One day, it all started at Cleve Hill Summer School, and my little brother Zach went to Cleve Hill Summer School. And then he comes out the next day bragging, "Oh, there's a beautiful girl. There's a girl. She's really pretty. She's..." And I'm like, "Well, what's the girl's name?" He's like, "I'm not telling you." "Why? So we can steal her?" And I'm like, "No. What's the girl's name? What's the girl's name? There's no harm in asking what's the girl's name. It's like, hey, what do you call that what shade of color do you call that curtain over there? Hey, what do you call that TV show that's playing right there?" And I'm like, he's like, "Oh, Brook." And I'm like, "Oh, Brook? Okay. Brook. Sounds, yeah, Brook. Wow, I don't have much to go off of by her name is Brook, so, I'm like, "Hey, little brother, let me give you some tips on how to pick up a girl. You promote your brother, and that's how you get a girl." Yo, I fucking scammed him. Yo, I fucking damn. What I did to that boy was fucked up. I said, "Yo, tell Brooke that your older brother is the Messiah and there's angels in his semen." No, I believe I said, "Yo, Zach, tell Brooke, tell Brooke that I'm the Messiah and there's Eucharist in my dick." He was like, "What? What the fuck did you just say?" And I'm like, "Yeah, motherfucker, that's what I just said for real, B." And he goes to school the next day. He goes to school the next day. He goes to school the next day. And he's what I told him to say, he's telling this girl, and he's like, and supposedly this girl said, "That's him. That's him. Your older brother is our God." And he's like, and then apparently I was told my little brother Zach said, "Bitch, shut the fuck up and give me some pussy." What? Zach, you don't say that to a female. No, no, no. Not even I will say that to a female. Not even I, sir. No, no. Hell no, hell no. Alright. So then I come to understand is this Brooke um beat the shit out of my brother, and he comes running out the school with his tail between his legs, fucking crying like a bitch. I'm like, "Zach, what happened?" He's like, "That girl beat the shit out of me." And I'm like, "Damn, nigga, you got your ass whooped by a girl? You's a punk Bitch for that. Yo, that really is. Damn. Damn. Oh, shit. Shit. So, I go in there looking for Brook. I go in there looking for Brook. And a sweet little British girl with her hair braided in pigtails comes walking out the classroom, says, "Hi." I said, "Yeah, I'm looking for Brooke. Beat the shit out of my little brother just like 5 minutes ago." And she's like, "Oh, I think I know that girl." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Am I talking to her right now?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Are you sorry?" She's like, "Why should I be?" And I'm like, "Oh hell no! My brother's a punk ass. He needed to get his ass whipped." She's like, "Oh, okay then." And then her girlfriends come walking up on me and says, "Hi, we've heard great things about you." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, cool." And I'm like, "So is it?" They're like, "So is it true? There's Eucharist in your penis, in your God?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Definitely, babe. Definitely. You got me. Definitely, babe. Like, I will straight ejaculate inside of a monster girl and absolve her people of her terrible curse and convert her to a human." Hold on, y'all. I gotta pause this. All right. So, like I was saying, as uh, thus far, um, previously, um, okay. So a cute little, sweet little British girl, blonde hair, braided into pigtails, comes walking out the back of the classroom. I'm like, "Hi, I'm looking for whoever just beat the shit out of my brother." And sweet little British girl. She's sweet little British girl. She comes walking up to me and she's like, "Hi." And I said, "Oh, I'm looking for the person who just beat the shit out of my brother." And they're like, "Oh, I think I know that girl." And I'm like, "Am I talking to her right now?" She's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Oh, cool." And she's like, "Why? Was that a bad thing?" And I'm like, eh, is it a bad thing that a pretty girl beat the shit out of my younger brother? Is it a bad thing? It's kind of attractive, actually. Looking at a beautiful, being married to a beautiful woman that's very pretty, but she can open a can of whoop ass and drop a motherfucker in 2 seconds. Damn. All right. So, you know, her little girlfriends come up to me. They're like, "Are you the one? Is there Eucharist in your penis and you are God?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, sounds good." They're like, "No, we don't want to hear sounds good. We want to hear it from you. Is that who you are?" And I'm like, "Yes." I said, "Yes, I am your God. There is Eucharist in my penis." Yo, it sounds like a porno. It does sound like a porno. I'm not gonna lie, it sounds like a porno. And that's basically what happened. Was it went down like a porno. All right. So I tell the girls, yeah, that's me. And then Brooke actually says to me, "Take off your pants now, big man." And then I'm like, "Whoa, on the first date?" I'm like, "Girls, can't we do this in privacy? I'm kind of shy." She's like, "Yes, master. Where would you like us to go?" And I'm like, "In the back of somebody's car. My dad's car's over there." They're like, "No, don't worry. We'll get a car for you, master." So they went out back. They went out in the parking lot behind the school, and they went and ripped a car door off the frame. And we all piled into the car, and them girls and I were having a hot, sexy orgy. And then, you know, them girls, I kept trying to milk their breasts, and they kept pulling away. And I'm like, "Babe, why are you pulling away from me? I'm trying to milk your breasts." And then, her girlfriends are like, "Those don't make milk." And I'm like, "Well, then what do they make?" They're like, "Do we really have to tell you?" I'm like, "Yeah, tell me." And I'm like, and I was joking. I was joking, and I'm like, "Oh, you mean to tell me, you girls are all monster girls? You girls are all monster girls, and your boobies are full of acid? You mean to tell me that?" And then they look at me and they're like, "You're not being funny, master." I'm like, "Well, I wasn't." Um, I'm like, "Okay, if you're really monster girls, let me see your demon eyes." And they're like, and they said, "Well, we kind of don't want to, because if we show you, we're going to scare you." I'm like, um, "Well, now that you said that, I'm wondering, should I even ask the question? Or I'm wondering, do I really want to see demon eyes?" And they're like, "Sorry." They're like, "Sorry, master." I'm like, "Sorry, what are you talking about?" And then she blared her reptilian eyes at me, and I'm like, "Oh, what the fuck? What the fuck?" I started flipping the fuck out. And then and then she gave me pussy. I was scared stiff. I was scared stiff. I was frozen in fear. So she was giving me pussy while I was frozen in fear and catatonic. As she was giving me pussy, looking into my eyes with those reptilian eyes. And then two girls, two girls, two girls pile out of the car and said, "Over here, master, over here." And I could not do anything. So um, them two girls ran off and pushed Brook Little off of me. And they're like, "Over here, master. You need to get out of the car." I'm like, "Yeah, okay. Yeah, I will." And then Brooke, as I get out of the car, Brooke is hissing at me. "Shh! I want his semen." Oh my god! Oh my god! Damn. I have girls hissing. Girls are hissing at each other, talking about, "That's our God, Andre Paul. That's our God. We want his semen." Damn. Alright. So, I don't remember too much what happened I don't remember what happened with that. I was scared shitless and I blacked out. Woke up in my dad's car. I'm like, "Hey, Dad, why the hell am I in back of your car?" "Why the hell am I in back of your car?" He was like, "Oh, you blacked out, son. You blacked out." I'm like, "What you mean I blacked out?" He's like, "You blacked out, son. Oh, and your girlfriend whooped your brother's monkey ass. You blacked out, son. Due to all the commotion, you must have blacked out because of all the excitement. You blacked out, son. You blacked out." And I was looking at my brother, and he's got two big dark circles around his eyes, and I'm like, "Oh, did he black out too? Because right about now, I'm seeing some blackout." Yo, that was fucked up, but that was funny. And then, so here we are, 7 years old. Here we are, 7 years old. She's giving me pussy. Not, I don't know. She's okay. Well, we've been through a lot together. We've known each other since we were 7. Known each other all our lives. Grew up together. We're madly in love at one point. Um, because of what we went through, we related to each other. We were there for each other. So I tell her before I leave. I must have told her before I leave. sweetie, you have to make sure you always protect me. You have to always be there for me. You have to always watch over me. And the girls are like, oh, you don't want her to watch over you. And I'm like, no, yes, I do. They're like, no, no, you don't. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, I do. And here's the reason why, girls, is people are gonna fuck around with me. And if I have to put my welfare in the hands of a monster girl to get the job done, you best believe I'm gonna put my hands. I'm gonna put my well-being in the hands of a monster girl, so the monster girl can save my ass. They're like, okay. And then, grow up a few years. We're 13. I'm 13. I'm living with a terrible, terrible person. I'm living with a real piece of shit. I'm needing this person. This person is. This person is a real piece of shit. Talking about, oh, I don't even want to mention her name. She who shall not be named. Alright, so we're 13. And then. Nah, fuck it. I'm not even going to tell that part. Fuck it. I'm not even going to tell that part. I'm just going to say. This is the same little girl, the same little English girl, same little British girl. Beat the shit out of my brother. She beat the shit out of another. And then I heard, the kid paid her a $50 bill for her to be his girlfriend. And then, then I found out that the girl beat the shit out of the kid because he was not who he said he was. And I was actually there. I was actually there to pick him up. This is right around the same time as my brother Zachary went to Cleve Hill Summer School. This kid also went to Cleve Hill Summer School, and he paid the girl $50 for her to be his girlfriend. And then, I walked by the classroom, and then the girl just straight walked off with the $50. He's like, so you're just gonna walk off with my money? And then the girl's like, she's like, excuse me? I'm not a prostitute. Why would I take money from you? And then, that's the second time. That's the fucking second time. That's the fucking second time some young kid told her, drop to your knees. She's like, that's the second time a young boy went up to her and said, shut the fuck up and give me some pussy, bitch. And again. My sweet little Brookie beat the shit out of that guy. Beat the shit out of that kid. And then they're like, Master, you want to go home with us now? these guys are assholes. And I'm like, um, baby, I can't. You're monster girls. You would eat me. Okay, let me break it down for you. Such as a praying mantis, would breed with her male counterpart. Um, the the female praying mantis would eat the male that just ejaculated inside her. So you see, girls, what's to become of me when I ejaculate inside one of you girls, and then you girls are looking to eat me alive? They're like, and they looked at each other and they're like, is that really true? Is that what we do? And then Brooke is over there crying. She's like, it's true. It's what we do. We are monsters. I said, well, monster girl or not, you did save me a couple times, so I at least owe it to you. To tell you that as we grow up together, and you're always watching over me. And, so that was the deal. Now, here we are 16 years old. I'm living at my mom's house in 19 Marengo Street. Or 17 Marengo Street. 17 Marengo Street or 19 Marengo Street. And, there's I asked for Girl Scouts to deliver Girl Scouts cookies to me. So I open up the door. I'd like to believe I had an undershirt on that day, people. Come on! Okay. So I open up the door in my undershirt. And two girls are like, hi, would you like to buy cookies today, mister? And they started giggling, and they're like, oh, nice undershirt. I especially like how it's low cut like that. That's totally what I was wearing that day. And don't anybody say otherwise. Okay. So I was in an undershirt and my boxers. So I was in an undershirt and a pair of shorts. That's definitely what I was wearing that day, yeah. We're gonna go with that. Anybody else says otherwise, fuck you. Metaphorically, wise asses. Alright, so we're 16. And these two young girls walk up to my door dressed as Girl Scouts. They're like, hi, mister. Would you like to buy some cookies today? I'm like, yeah, I would like to buy some cookies, but I don't have any money. It's just like, oh, well, we got a 2-for-1 sale. And I'm like, buy one. She's like, buy one, get the other one free. And I'm like, and I'm like, oh, um, can I see the boxes? She handed them to me. She handed them to me. And I'm like, oh, these look like some good cookies. And I slammed the door in her face, and I'm like, yeah, your cookies just got woke, bitch. Fuck. This shit was fucked up. Yo, I ran off with that bitch's cookies too. And ran out to the back of my room, ate the cookies, and then later on that day, I tried to come outside, but then there's this sweet little British girl with her hair braided in pigtails looking at the door, not even blinking, stood there for 3 days straight. I'm like, hey, and I'm like, she's like, hi, mister. I'm like, hi. Are you here about what I did to those 2 Girl Scouts 3 days ago? She's like, oh, well, what'd you do? I'm like, well, I kind of stole a box of cookies from and slammed the door in their face. She's like, oh, well then I guess I can't sell you these cookies. And I'm like, oh shit! Is that the new joints that just come out? Them double mint chocolate chip cookies, Girl Scout cookies. Oh fuck yeah, Jizzy! It's about to be on and popping. They're like, she's like, wow, Sarah, you have a real potty mouth. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. Can I just see the cookies? Can I just see the cookies? She's like, well, how do you know? Well, how do I know you won't run off with them? And I'm like, baby, I promise, I will not run off with the cookies. And she's like, here, see? She held it in her hand, and I'm like, can I look at that a little bit closer? And I grabbed the cookies out of her hand, and I slammed the door in her face, and I'm like, thanks for the cookies, bitch. Oh shit. Yo, that shit was fucked up. That shit was fucked up. Oh my god, I could kick my own ass for doing that shit. Oh my god. Oh, that was so fucked up. But I did it, and then the girl was pounding on my door for 3 days. Mister, open up the door. Mister. And she's banging on her door for like 2 weeks. She's like, Mister, I'm getting pissed. I'm getting very irritated. Are you going to open up the door and pay for those cookies? I'm like, I don't have any money. She's like, well, you shouldn't have took the cookies, her sister says. I'm like, my bad. I really wanted the cookies, but I didn't have any money, like. So I had to get my mom. I had to get my mom to pay the little British girl the money that she wanted for selling me the cookies. Okay, and I feel bad for her, and I'm like, babe, would you like to come inside? And then the 2 girls are like, no, You don't want her to come inside. And I'm like, yeah, I want her to come inside. She's beautiful. I want a hump. And they're like, oh, well, whatever happens, you're responsible. You're responsible, and you have responsibilities with her. We'll pick her up later on today to see how you do. And I'm like, okay. So I took her in my room, and supposedly I was supposed to take her as my baby mama, but I ended up waxing one off in her butthole because I did not want to be a father at 16. I don't think anybody is ready to be a parent at 16 years old. Um, Realistically, nobody wants to be a parent at 16 years old. I don't know. I don't think anybody does. Okay. Well then well then she starts climbing on my walls and throwing fits, and I'm like, wow, bitch, are you climbing on my walls? The fuck down here before I beat your ass with a leather belt. She hisses at me. You had a job to do. You were supposed to put your semen in me and get me pregnant. I'm like, oh, I assure you. I assure you, I did pour my semen in you. She's like, she's like, then why aren't I showing yet? I'm like, well, in biology class I have learned a pregnant girl takes the cycle of pregnancy takes 9 months for the woman to be showing all nice and pregnant, swollen. Then they're like, she's like, okay. She jumped off the wall. I'm like, Brookie, sweetie, please don't do that again. You scared me. She's like, yes, master. And then I heard a knock at the door. And they're like, knock, knock, knock. And I'm like, oh, it's, them girls here to pick you up. She's like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go, master. I don't want to go. And I'm like, you kind of have to. She's like, but why? I tried to explain to the girl, but how was I to explain? She was not part of our family. She was not written down on the list. She's like, I'm not a part of your family? I'm like, yeah, baby, you're part of my family because I'm sleeping with you. But you're not on the lease. She's like, can I be on the lease? So how would I tell that pretty girl that no, she can't be on the lease because we rent and I'm not the landlord, so I can't decide that. And then there's a knock on the door, and like the two girls are knocking. Brook, open up! Brook, open up! And then, I open up the door and I'm like, Brooke, you gotta go. Your people are asking about you. She's like, but you're my people. I'm like, Brooke, sometime in the future, Brooke. Sometime in the future. Not right now. I'm 16. I don't want to be a father. And then the two girls are like, it's a little too late now. It's a little too late now to claim that you don't want to be a father at 16. You just came inside of her. And exactly exactly 2 more weeks go by and they show up at the house. They're like, hey, open up the door. Knock, knock, knock. Mister, open up the door. And I answered the door, and again, I was wearing an undershirt and a pair of shorts. Yeah, that's exactly what I was wearing that day. And if anybody says anything else, they're a liar. It's exactly the outfit I was wearing that day. And they're knocking on the door. They're all pissed. Why isn't she showing? You promised us she would be showing. And I said, well, I didn't want to be a father at 16. So I waxed one off in her butthole. And then I was told, you had a job to do. You were supposed to come in her and take her as your wife. I'm like, technically I did. I just did not get her pregnant. So, the relationship is there. I did exactly what I was supposed to do. I just did not get her pregnant. And they're like, well, we were told that's not the way marriage is. And I'm like, it can be. It's acceptable for a marriage to be like that. And then, fast forward a few years. Now I am 21 and I've just gotten out of the hospital because my dad kicked me out of the house because I was going after him, trying to beat the shit out of him. Because he's a punk that likes to lay his hands on 13-year-old children. What is 13-year-old children grew up to be a fine 16-year-old and beat the fuck out of them? Always yelling at him, yeah, put your hands on me, Dad, now, Dad. Put your hands on me now, you punk motherfucker. I'll drop you, you fucking douchebag. And then my dad had to call some punk ass motherfucker a little Nathan Kruger faggot. A very fucking faggot Nathan Kruger and his little faggot brother. Oh, mommy's little bitch boys. Eating tapioca pudding from her cold dead pussy behind the grave. And, yeah. So that's exactly what it is. Mommy's little bitch boys. And then, that little faggot Nathan came into the house, and I had my homeboy into the house. I'm like, and the Nathan kid started punking me off. Said, Andre, who's your friend? And I'm like, Don't worry about it. He's like, no, I'm going to ask you one more time. Who's your friend? And I said, don't worry about it. And my friend stood up. My friend stood up. My friend came out the room and he's like, he told you, don't worry about it. And he's like, oh, I'm going to worry about it. And he's like, no, I'm going to fucking drop you if you fucking talk to my boy like that again. And then he slept on the couch. He slept on the couch. He slept on the couch, and my boy slept in the same room with me. And my dad started claiming, there's not enough room, there's not enough room. I'm like, yo, my friend is homeless, and he's been my friend this whole time. And he's been my friend. We've been through some shit together. You know, it's like, yeah, well, you've been through some shit with that kid too. And I'm like, no, I don't even like that kid. That kid's a faggot. And then, you know, as my homeboy went out the house to go get Subway, and by the time he came back, my dad already had the door locked. And then my dad and that little faggot, Nathan Kruger, was standing by the door talking about, oh, you're not letting him in. Oh, you're not letting him in. And then, you know, he went and whipped out a key. Thankfully, I'd given him a key. So he let himself in. And he's like, how did you get in? He's like, I have a key, asshole. Do that shit to my man while I'm here. Do that shit to my man while I'm here. See what I'll fucking do. I'll drop the both of you fucking pieces of shit. And then, they're little faggots. That Nathan kid's a little faggot. He likes to say, damn, it's like that? I didn't know. He goes to shake your hand. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Here's a $20 bill. Why don't you go down the street and buy a can of Dr. Pepper? As soon as you leave, he trips you. As soon as you leave, he trips you and slams you up against the wall and said, give me my $20 bill, asshole. He's going to do that. He's going to do that to the wrong person. He's going to get dealt with. He's going to sit behind bars. And he's going to get raped up his asshole. Fucking piece of shit. Alright, besides all that, we're getting way off topic. Alright, so I get out of the hospital. I am living at the corner of Gould and Panora, right next to the police station. And I'm fucking around on my phone, and I download an app. What was this app? Mocha Loca, Choco Moco, Choco Moco, Mocha Locas. Some kind of bullshit. And then a girl friend requests me and woman friend requests me and start talking to me. And she starts showing me all these pictures of these young girls. I'm like, whoa, how old are these girls? This is forbidden. She's like, do you like them? I'm like, well, it's forbidden. I don't want to. She's like, do you like them? I'm like, Tell you the truth, I did like them. She's like, do you want to fuck them? I'm like, yeah, I want to fuck them. She's like, she's like, you're gonna, you're gonna come inside these 13-year-old girls and get them pregnant. And I thought it was all the rage. But what I was really getting into is my brother told me, Andre, you're getting yourself into some deep shit. Quit it. So she pulls up the one day and comes to my house and says, "Hey, Mister, I got two lovely women here for you." And then I said, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "Yeah, I got hair on my chest." She's like, "Yeah, we see that." I don't know how they saw that. I don't know how these girls claim they saw me open up the door butt naked. I don't know how these girls are claiming that. Every time I opened up the door, I always had clothes on. To be specific, a white crew cut undershirt and a pair of shorts. Oh yeah, that's definitely what I'm always wearing when I open the door. You say anything else, you're a liar. We're gonna go with that one. Uh, so where was I? 21. I'm talking to this person. Come to find out, this person works for the black market, and she does trafficking. And I'm like, whoa, black market, isn't that illegal? She's like, no, no. And I'm like, yeah, black market is illegal. And she's using words like rape, um, black market, illegal, unmarked, registered firearms, serial numbers filed down so you can't trace the firearms, bombs, cocaine, Colombian heroin. I said, whoa, hold on. That to me sounds illegal. That to me sounds illegal. And I stopped texting her and I blocked her. And she's like, I, I, I fucking, I shut off my phone. I shut down my phone, pulled the backing off of my phone, and threw my phone in the fucking corner, and did not touch that shit for like 3 weeks. So finally, I put the shit back together, and my phone then rings. I'm like, how the fuck did this person know? I'm like, oh, this shit is fucked up. So I purposely did not answer, and she texted me, oh yeah, I love being ignored. Keep ignoring me. Then this shit didn't sound right, and I'm like, what do you want? And they're like, we're coming to pick you up. We're coming to pick you up, asshole. Ignore us like that again. We don't like how you are rude to us. And they came to my house not knowing that I was setting them up the whole time. Not knowing that it was a setup the whole time. Surprise, bitch! It's an ambush! And the girl without her phone the girl without her phone and started dialing 911. I'm like, yeah, babe, dial 911. Fuck yeah, dial 911. She's like, you're so confident for some reason. She's like, why are you excited? You're going to jail. And I'm like, oh, no. She's like, yeah, this is the way it works. We're going to call police. We're going to conveniently hang up the phone and we're going to casually get out here and we're going to set you up as a patsy. I'm like, please do. Please do. She's like, oh, well, you're very confident. I'm like, yes, I am. Oh, yo, this shit was great. This shit was great. And then they called the police. And the police come pulling up in like 2 seconds. And they're like, you live right across, you live right by a police station? You didn't tell us that. And that's how that's how I know Brook Little. We've known each other all our lives. I rescued her from the black market. I rescued her from the black market. And rescued her from the black market. And okay. She's like, she texted me on the phone. She's like, I'm coming for you. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're a monster girl now. You're a monster girl. You're not coming for me. Why don't we wait to a few years where we can settle down and we can mature and we could be a little bit more relaxed. She's like, I am relaxed. And I'm like, no. And then I told her, and I'm like, baby, stay away from now. Brookie, sweetie, stay away from me for now. In a few years, I'll have gotten situated. I would have matured. And I will request you. So that's what I did. I moved to 57 Cowing, Lancaster Street, Cheektowaga, 57 Cowing Street, Lancaster, New York, 14086, USA. And then, I requested her. I requested like 3 girls. I requested like Siri, the red-haired Pornstar, Brook Little. There was another girl, but I'm not going to speak of her. For the sake of my kingdom, I'm not going to speak of her. And then it was all fine and good until they kept saying to me, husband, can we move? We really don't like it here. We're not getting out of the house. We're not getting exercise. I'm like, oh. And then she's like, oh. And then you keep disappearing every morning. And we don't know where you go. Husband, I thought you love us. You need to spend time with us. And I'm like, yeah, girls, yeah. And I'm like, how could I decide? It's well, I had them come pick me up from church the one day, and then that scumbag joke of a priest, which is not a priest, Father Dave Richards, uh, looks behind him and he's like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "Don't matter. Don't worry about it. They're not yours. They're women and they don't belong to you." And they're like, "Yeah, we're his wives." And that little faggot Father Dave Richards runs into the back of his church. They're like, he's like, their brother has beautiful wives. And then from that day forward, it was mutiny. The father always calling the police, saying I'm sexually harassing the altar girl. First of all, what in the fuck is an altar girl? Yeah, what in the fuck is an altar girl? I'd still like to know, what in the fuck is an altar girl? So police are beating on my door. Landlord is beating on my door. My mom sneaks into my house with the key while I'm sleeping, starts grabbing up all my things, and my wife's get pissed. She's like, "No, you don't. Put that down." She's like, "Oh, I'm here because he's evicted." She's like, and my wives are like, "No, he's not. Why don't we see a piece of paper that says that?" She's like, "Do I need to call the police? She's like, "You can try, but he'll have you dragged off the property kicking and screaming just like he did the police." There, she's like, "Oh, well, we'll see about that." And then I'm like, "Girls, I really want to make love right now." She's like, hold on a bit longer, hold on a bit longer. And I'm like, "Girls, I really want some pussy now. Please, girls, please." And they're like, okay, honey, okay. They warned me. They tried to warn me not to let my guard down. As my mom came in my room, she started grabbing all my things, and I'm like, "Ma, get the fuck out of my room. You were told get the fuck out of my room. You were told get the fuck out of my house. I have a restraining order against you." "Yes, I do." And she's like, "Do you have a deed? And I'm like, "Yeah, I got a fucking deed." She's like, "Well, where is it?" I'm like, "It's right there." And I tried to get it. And she kept fucking jumping at me. Trying so hard not to let me get that deed. So finally, I pushed her and I knocked her on her fucking ass. And I'm like, "Now what is this? This looks like a deed right here. This looks like a deed. So shut your lying ass fucking mouth and get your ass out of my house." As soon as I did that, the cops come running up into my house. They're like, "Andre, you don't put your hands on your fucking mother that way." I'm like, "You don't come into my fucking house. And you don't bring my mother in my fucking house." They're like, "Excuse me? Talk to us like that again." And I'm like, "Oh, I'll just make a phone call to my embassy." And I'm like, Well, what's your embassy going to do in 2 seconds that we can't do in 2 seconds? And they're like, let me rephrase it. You're going to remove yourself from your private property or you will be removed by gunpoint. And so I was removed at gunpoint and I was tossed on the front lawn like a sack of potatoes. And my mom comes running out the house with a moving, and then it's about like 6 hours after which I was dragged out the house. No phone, no call for help. Police can't help me. Police are the problem. Police are the problem. It was all good until I was made to leave that house. Why did I ever leave that house? I should have never left that house. But yeah, I was made to leave that house and go live down the street, 2844 George Urban Boulevard, Depew, New York 14043. And then the problems only got worse. It was disgusting hillbilly piggy illegally trespassing on the property cooking meth. And it was a problem for a year straight. I kept calling the cops to have her removed. Cops kept blatantly refusing to remove her, saying, oh, they're allowed to have a dog. Oh, sounds? Beeping? Fire alarm? Okay, well, it's a fire alarm. It's gonna beep. And I'm like, yeah, every 5, 10 to 15 minutes. And they're like, they kept making excuses. And they're like, oh, well, 5 minutes is a far cry from 15 minutes. And I'm like, that's not what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Do not play fucking stupid with me. And a whole bunch of shit. Oh, and a whole bunch of shit. Oh, I really don't want to bring this up right now because it causes a spike in my blood pressure. But nevertheless, I want to go message my beloved Brook Little. Turns out she's not my beloved anymore. I don't know her anymore, nor does she know me anymore. She went and ran off with my brother, started fucking niggers. Ran off with my brother, started sleeping with niggers. Wow. Porn stars are pieces of shit. And that old fat, soggy, disgusting hillbilly, old fat, soggy, disgusting hillbilly piggy, trafficking my women every time they come to my house, saying, oh, girls, look at what I have in my hand. They're like, what's that? She kept intercepting all my girls. Her and Ms. Latina officer. And every time I would call police, Ms. Latina officer would show up. She was real nice for 2 seconds, and at 0 to 100. She's 0 to 100. She turned into a real fucking piece of shit. That fucking piece of shit. That fucking asshole. She's like, Andre, remember? Do you want the deed to the house? Do you want the deed to the house? I'm like, no, I do not need to own the deed to the house. When that's a drug distributioner, and she is illegally cooking meth on my side of the house. She's like, do you have the deed to the house? Do you have the deed to the house? And I'm like, no, I don't have. She's like, And you're about ready to go to jail, and I slam the door in her face, and I'll call the number, and I have her removed. She's like, making hits on a police officer is not a wise idea. That's against the law. And I'm like, well, I'm calling government. How would that be against the law? How would calling government on crooked police be called against the law? No. It's just calling a higher authority, proper authority, to deal with crooked police that don't do their job, that blatantly refuse to do their job. They're like, we're going to do our job, let us in, let us in. They come knocking at the door, and Ms. Latina officer, 0 to 100, as soon as she got flipping out, she's like, babe, who did you call? And I'm like, I'm not your babe, asshole. Shut the fuck up and get off my property. And now she was dragged off my property, kicking and screaming many times. Many times, many times. I had police drag off my property, kicking and screaming. I just had some police written up on charges. Oh, fuck with me. Fuck with me, son. And yeah, it's sounding popping. It's sounding popping right now. Now if I can just get some girls over here. So, my previous wives, probably best we don't speak any longer, because, you girls are some real pieces of shit.